Hi everyone, Trina Phoenix, and this is 5.2. So we were just getting done with Carl Jung and Plato, and we're getting ready to go back into Carl Jung again. And it says Carl Jung is coming on the scene. And we were learning from Plato about, and Pythagoras, how they both believed that the planetary bodies were directly influencing us as human beings through our connection to them, through these archetypes that we were born and placed into within this solar system. And I just completely resonate with that information. And I've always been able to connect with the planets and the sun. And I think it was because I always remembered being with the Lord. I kind of kept that ability to, to bilocate my consciousness, to go and commune and ask questions and work with these different beings. And it was profound when I realized that they literally were living within me, because I had the concept that they were above me. That was just to me natural, but to actually anchor that they were within me, that took a little bit of work. So it's really wonderful to connect to these parts of yourself, because they truly are parts of yourself. We are one collective whole. So as a collective, we are one. Even though we express as an individual self, an I am presence, we are truly one above and beyond that. So learning to connect with these bodies, to me, has been a very beautiful blessing and part of my journey. And I'm very grateful that I was never into the worship and the giving my power away, or thinking that I need to do something so they can do something for me, because that's not how it works. This is one body operating in love. And when you operate with those principles, there's never any interference of free will, and there's no consequence to the action. Because when you're working from love and working from cooperation, you're truly using the essence of creative source itself. So there can never be any wrong coming from those aspects. So just remember, create well and create with love and joy. And you can't ever go wrong. And you can't ever interfere by sending love and healing and just positive, beautiful, uplifting energy to anyone or the planet. But just make sure that your intentions are just to give it freely, not expecting anything in return. And this is where a lot of people, I think, are getting stuck in the energies, is because they're thinking it's an exchange. Oh, you give to that and then you get back. It's all coming from within you. You don't need anything. You have everything you need within your own Torah field. So your Torah is perfect. Your holographic form templates are perfect. Your spirit and soul are perfect. Your oversoul is perfect. Those things are just how it operates. So you have to go pretty high up to the highest dimensions before you're just getting into the full-on love vibrations, which are just, everything is just soup of everything, and it's just kind of profound and awesome. But you get into the mother aspects, and that's where you got the dark waters, and you got all the images and everything is there. So it's a conundrum, but these things are literally part of your consciousness. They're part of your mind, the mind of God, which you have. So with that, these beings, they're our brothers and our sisters. And they're just expressed in a very massive form and physicality. So just know that. These are real entities, real beings of immense power and wisdom. And I think that a lot of us, we're working on healing them because they've been traumatized like we have. Literally. It's like I see it's the same. So have compassion for these planets. They've been through a lot, just like we have on our journey. So send them some healing, some support, some love. Just send them love and say thank you for supporting all that I am, because without them, you wouldn't have a certain chakra in your body. You'd be a completely different electrical being without these presences within you. So it's a beautiful communication, cooperation of plasma and electricity and light. And we are communicating through those aspects of our being with these planetary bodies, through our chakras and through our energy centers in our auric field in our different bodies. causal, etherical, mental, all the different bodies that we hold, the 5. So within that, no, these are a part of us, and it's time to remember who we are. So this is why I love this information, and I hope many of you can see things from a different perspective and go deeper into the well of that is you, because this is all within you. And we're all expressing different attributes of these gods. So, and these are the little g gods. They're the creator gods. They're not source of all that is the highest creation. No, they're not that. They're aspects of, though. Different aspects of. So as we are. So like I said, it's an amazing dance of energy, photonic light, magnetism, alchemy. This is what we're all doing with each other. And it's an amazing dance. And we're getting ready to go into a very important time. And right now, it's critical that you remember who you are. So I hope this helps you guys to connect with the parts of yourself that were lost or forgotten, because God knows I have many parts of myself that are still lost and forgotten, and I work every day to try to find a little bit more. So you're not alone. We're doing this together. So here we go with Carl Jung comes onto the scene. The famous psychologist Carl Jung once wrote, "Archetypes have their origins in the dawn of humanity and history. Psyche is not of today. Its ancestry goes back many, many millions of years." Jung readily admitted that he had first discovered the concept of the archetypes in the teachings of the Hellenistic and Gnostic worlds, where spiritual initiates were introduced to the myths, heroes, and archetypes that offered the gateway to understanding the higher realms. Jung's understanding of these spiritual intelligences gives us the tools that allow us to reconcile the cold objectivism of modern-day science with the inner yearnings of spiritual faith that bind the entire universe together. Born in Germany in 1875, Jung was the son of a Protestant minister, and his grandfather was an Old Testament scholar who spoke with spirits, and his grandmother was well known to fall into trances and prophecy. Growing up, Jung read wildly, delving into the literature of spiritualism and psychic research, including Protestant theology, Christian mysticism, the mystical works of Emanuel Swedenborg. He absorbed the traditions of the German Romantics. He studied biology in the works of Darwin and Ernst Haeckel, seeking to reconcile the world of science with the worlds of philosophy, faith, and mysticism. From 1900 to 1909, Jung worked as a psychiatrist in a mental hospital and began lecturing at the University of Zurich in 1905. He was active in the Freudian psychoanalytical movement from 1907 to 1913, and from there he went on to develop the foundation of what we know today as Jungian psychology. Jungian, I think is how you pronounce it. An approach that grew out of his years in private practice. From 1913 to 1936, in his early years, he tried to link these reoccurring archetypes, which appear in every ancient religion of the world, both genetics and heredity. But over time, he became convinced that these archetypes are real, active forces in the world of nature. Over the course of his many studies in history, religion, mythology, psychology, and parapsychology, Jung discovered that the same archetypal patterns seem to exist in every period of history, no matter what culture he probed. Jung ultimately came to the belief that, like the creational gods of ancient Egypt called the Neteru, these gods or archetypes are elemental forces that have played a vital role in the creation of the human psyche. Yes, personality. The true power of working with these such divinities, Jung believed, lies in their ability to both inform as well as transform us. And this is what I know too. These planetary beings, they can heal you, they can help you work out your karma, they can help you work out stuck energies, they can do all kinds of beautiful things. When you're literally clearing and working with your chakras, you're clearing and working through the psyche of those planetary archetypes. That's what you're doing. So you're at the red chakra, you're like, hi Mars, how are you doing? So yeah, it's interesting. You're working with the crowd. It's like, hi Saturn, how you doing today? Are you feeling good or are you feeling feisty? Yeah, because Saturn's feisty. So, yeah, get to know these parts of yourself, and these are where your attributes come from in your personality. It's kind of funny, and you embrace others more than the others, and the other ones might be an obstacle, and it's interesting the marriages that we have between them within our own being. So, the nature of archetypes. One of Jung's many contributions was to develop a therapeutic teaching based upon the spiritual practices of the early Gnostics, who were devoted to reawakening the divine self behind the many facets of the personality. In this process, initiates enter into an objective relationship with the various archetypes or subpersonalities found within their inner worlds. They then interact with these archetypes through a process of inner dialogue. In this way, we each discover whether these voices are merely subpersonalities or voices within ourselves, programmed by our upbringing. So they're either coming from the archetype, or they're coming from a program. So something that was installed through your experiences. So, or whether this is a genuine spirit guide. And then there's also communicating with your guides, speaking from within us. Jung wrote of his own personal experiences with such a guide named Philemon, who became his spiritual instructor, just as Regal and Ariel had become mine, and mine was the Lord. And a big, beautiful female entity I work with as well. Philemon and the other figures of my fantasies brought home to me the crucial insight that there were things in the psyche which I do not produce, but which produce themselves. They have their own life. These benevolent powers then have the ability to act as allies or teachers for us in our journeys. An archetype can be considered from both a psychological or a spiritual point of view. Certainly that we can argue that anything that appears in our dreams is simply an aspect of ourselves. However, there are times when we make contact with beings from a higher plane who exist independent of ourselves. Whether we call them masters, sages, angels, or divinities, these beings have their own history. They live and they breathe quite separately from us. Christian theology might define them as Mother Mary or the Savior Jesus. Egyptians might see them as a variation of Horus or Isis. In Native American, it's White Buffalo Calf Woman, or in Chinese culture, Kuan Yin. All these events are possible, for each of these divine presences has acted as an overseeing spirit guide for entire cultures. When the person experiencing these encounters has no prior knowledge of these beings, something that has happened to me time and time again, the message that divinity conveys can then be tested and corroborated by those who have had similar encounters throughout their histories. Reconciling these kind of profound encounters with our modern-day paradigms is the major challenge before us. For the modern mind seeks to compartmentalize our life experiences into the mental constructs that we have been taught to compose reality. While these encounters, with these beings from the other planes of existence may not be real. They are life-changing. Most of us are at a loss to explain how such events could happen. That is because current Western theology does not provide a template for the multi-dimensional nature of reality. This is true. Or for understanding how these various aspects of the divine can act as teachers for our own growth. During the course of our spiritual unfoldment, any of us may connect with several sets of spirit guides at different points along our journey, just as we were assigned different teachers in school, appropriate to our current level of learning. When a new teacher arrives, we may be completely stunned at the depth of our own reactions. Oh yeah, I've had that happen. In response to this development, Jung was moved to remark that there is a god or a goddess at the heart of every complex. Jung claimed that he first discovered the power of archetypes by observing radical changes in his clients' behaviors. They were often accompanied by having their lives turned completely upside down. We found ourselves madly in love, brooding over an issue, suddenly compelled to have children, insanely possessive, ready to settle down, or acting with the passion of a zealot. These emotions all have archetypal corollaries. I don't know how to say this. Corollaries? They're common. Deities who have played out these emotions on the grand stage. Author Robert Bly points out that these archetypes are actually transformers that appear during times of life transformation and transition. These occur in adolescence or upon meeting your future mate, opening up to an entirely new level of yourself, discovering such a divinity that may occur through a dream, a vision, a near-death experience, or spontaneously having an encounter like being struck by lightning. Jung believed that these potentials for significance are not really under our conscious control, but seem to happen as if out of nowhere. One of the best examples I can think of is falling in love. Most of us have experienced that wild, exhilarating feeling as the chemistry overtakes us. Our beloved is the Venus, or Adonais, of our dreams. We are possessed by an overwhelming compulsion to be with our love, elated by anything that has to do with the object of our desire. But as the weeks or the months pass, the glamour seems to fall away from our eyes, and instead we find ourselves projecting our hurt, our anger, and our fear onto the other person. Suddenly, the archetype has changed. These changes may also come during important passages of life, such as the sickness of a loved one or the death of a parent or a mate, awakening us to a deeper connection to the other side. Why would such traumatic events usher in such a new archetype? Perhaps because the deity's perspective is exactly what we need. That is exactly what we need to weather the coming storm. Interesting. So we can shift our archetype to prepare us for what's coming. Interesting. During these seasons of change, we often experience a departure from our safe, secure realities. And it is then that our spiritual allies can help us to discover a larger understanding of the world. These spiritual beings and their stories give us knowledge, support, and attunement to a broader range of perceptions, and have the power to change us. As Carl Jung once noted, these archetypes don't just pattern behavior, they transform it as well. His book, Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, Jung writes that human beings share a single universal mind, yes, that is rooted in the human consciousness, in the same way that a huge tree is rooted in the ground. The concept, no doubt, linked to the ancients' version of the tree of life. Plato would say that these intelligent fields of energy in form are the very essence of who we are at every level. Science seems to be coming to the very same conclusions. The Alchemy of Healing states, by Dr. Edward Will Whitmont, by applying physicist David Bloom's theories of the seen and unseen worlds behind the quantum physics and Rupert Sheldrake's morphogenic resonant field hypothesis, the ultimate nature of the universe is not substance, but immaterial fields, the invisible, yes, of dynamic forms that intercommunicate with one another through resonance, vibration, yes. These vibrational fields of intelligence can be perceived more easily when we consider them as real living beings, as members of a society that presides itself on rationalism. We would like to deny such influences, yet despite our best scientific theories that falling in love is only a result of chemicals released in the brain, we continue to fall in love every day, irrationally, illogically, and undeniably. We act in ways that even the best Freudian analyst cannot explain. Jung's explanation of these higher dimensional realities open up the link between the spirit world and the human world, that neither modern-day religion nor science seems to be able to embrace. Despite the millions of people who have had these divinely inspired encounters many times. The scientific view of reality. Oh, we might want to skip that because that's probably something I really don't even know if I want to deal with, because I know the scientific view of reality. Both religion and science have long had a knee-jerk reaction when it comes to the idea of interacting with the polytheistic gods. Science, which has emerged out of centuries of church territorialism, deliberately limited itself to the objective study of the physical world. But now physicists and leading-edge pioneers are looking at subatomic and quantum and the quarks and the planes and the levels of reality, the multidimensional potentials that we are as human beings, the string theory, opening up a door, all the open doors now of paranormal research in the past that were all off limits to serious academics. Dr. Cuckoo tells us that until recently, scientists have viewed the idea of multidimensional realities with suspicion, but recently the tide has turned dramatically, with the finest minds on the planet working furiously on the subject. The reason for this sudden change is the arrival of a new theory, the string theory, the latest version, the M theory, which promises not only to unravel the nature of the multiverse, but allows us to read the mind of God. Yes, because you connect to the meta. So M means power, great power. It means Mary, mother, mind, mental. It's literally a very powerful letter. So M is meta. The underneath principle of the power of the M is the meta. You are meta, which means you are a multi-dimensional existing eternal being. So, the theories, the M theory, which promises not only to unravel the nature of the multiverse, but allows us to read the mind of God. Dr. Cuckoo reminds us that in strictly scientific terms, the M stands for membrane. Yes. But that it can also mean mystery, magic, or even mother. Yes. Magi. Maga. Power. Mag. M-A-G. Magic. These are all M. Quantum physicist Erwin Lassozo, author of The Self-Actualizing Cosmos, calls this the Akashic Field, the subtle, interconnected dimension that lies beyond our visible one. Yes, fourth dimension. This is and bleeds a little bit into the fifth. So, the subtle, interconnected dimensions that lies beyond our visible one. This is the vast sea of the cosmos in which we swim, and it contains all the information, energies, and archetypes that are aspects of the intelligence of God. It is this multidimensional and multi-layered. It is the world of the shaman and the mystic, and it defines and informs the visible world. Our job is to become more conscious of this dimension, of these powerful messages of wisdom that flow through it into ours. Then we have the chance to learn from it. So while a multidimensional view of the world was once the sole purpose view of the mystics, we are beginning to find a basis for what the sages have long taught about the nature of reality, and perhaps, eventually, the many beings that compose it. The multidimensional construct is something that the masters have long imparted to its initiates, and the heartening to realize that the modern science is now creating an overlap between spiritual, philosophical, and scientific thought that is long overdue. Philosopher Ken Wilber writes that the Akashic world is a trans-universal, hollow field operating in a largely unmanifest dimension that gives unity to all things manifest. And it is actually the ground from which the entire manifestation realm emerges and to which it returns. It is ultimately responsible for the coherence of the universe itself, and it is well known to the mystical traditions of the world over. Sociologist Kingsley Dennis reminds us that this new paradigm does not destroy or collapse the current models of reality. Rather, it is an update to these previous stages of knowing into a more inclusive model that better serves to explain how the manifest world exists and can exist within a hidden dimension that underlies the structure of a more complete, inclusive, energetic reality. Fear, the fear of gods and goddesses. In Western religion, however, the fear of interacting with other divinities comes from an entirely different root, as we have seen. Within the three Abrahamic religions of the heavy-handed politics of the priest of the Yahweh wiped out all competing deities some 2,500 years ago, including the Divine Mother and her resurrected Son. As we have seen, the reign of terror that marks the 6 centuries of the Christian Inquisitions is a matter of public record, although few of us have been exposed to the details of this debauchery because it is something the Church would rather keep from us. The knee-jerk reactions that most people have to the mere mention of any other gods in Christianity, Judaism, and Islam has been behind the fear of an impending doom. The rabid vehemence of the Catholic Church, a term that means universal or all-inclusive, by the way, towards other religions has been extreme, to say the least. And the ravage of the Jewish and Islamic conquest is not far behind. When Pope Innocent VIII issued his etiquette of 1484 against the pagans, the greatest targets were those still communed with the earth, the village healers, the mystics, the shamans, the ones who understood how to manifest and unmanifest realms. They worked together to teach wisdom. Later, this same religiously justified brutality was used to annihilate millions of Native Americans whose only crime was believing in the Spirit of God existed in everything. That still breaks my heart. They embrace the concept that all life is sacred, a philosophy so threatening to the patriarchy that they began to exterminate millions, all in the name of the Prince of Peace. It looks to me like we might be getting ready to come into another one of these times. And with that, these times, it looks like they might be pushing transhumanism and microchipping and all of these vaccinations and these things that clearly are harming us. So all I can say from the deepest part of my being is, children of God, hold tight to who you are and hold firm to it. And don't let fear even enter into this picture. Because you know what? We will be the ones who give the message that no, it's not okay. No, it's not okay to take newborn babies from their moms because they have a cold. No, this is not okay. Not okay. We create the children. So they're our property. They're not yours. People need to understand this. We've given away everything, and now they're taking the children. So it's up to us to stop it. Whether or not we do is yet to be seen. But you don't fight this. You simply just say no to it. For many mothers that come up, this might mean that you're going to be probably giving birth outside of hospitals, trying to protect that which is natural and that which is organic, because the agenda is that we will not be allowed to have children naturally anymore. I don't think any of us want that. So it's time now to fight for our rights, the rights to be human, the rights to love and procreate, and have our children be of the clay and the spirit, not of iron and technology. So it's going to be time where you are going to be choosing this, whether or not you're going to go into the Borg or whether or not you're going to stay human. So think deeply upon it. Many are going to go both ways. So this is the division of humanity that I saw from the time I was little. Some will go into this transpersonal humanism thing, and they will seek to have the eternal lie promise, which is eternal life. You'll live forever. Really, you already do. The greatest deception. And it will even... Many people will try to save their life, and in trying to save their life, in all actuality, they might be losing it. These are the words directly from Christ. Pay attention to what he said. For those who try to save their life will surely lose it. If you think that getting chipped and getting turned into this supernatural thing and this immortal robot situation, if you think that that's really going to work out well for you, man, all power to you and Godspeed on your journey. But for those of us who've seen a different layer of consequences for that action and don't want to participate in it, that should be allowed. It should be allowed. It all should be allowed. We should be able to choose how we want to live and how we wish to create our families. So all of these things are coming into real serious potentials right now. So hold tight to what you love. Hold tight to your vision of the future, whichever way that goes. And hopefully we can manifest something that everybody can at least exist together in harmony with. So things are changing. Hold on, guys. It's going to get bumpy. But transition is always tough. So it's not supposed to be, easy. But just know it'll pass. This too shall pass. And we'll get through it. And we will be better for it. Because through this, we're going to really see how much we mean to each other. And all the religions and colors and races and social status. It won't matter. Not anymore. What'll matter is you and the ones that you love. So hold on tight to that and really feel more of it. Feel it encompassing the entire planet. Social distancing they're making us do physically. Well, the counter for this is to imagine yourself gathering with all of your friends and your family in your mind, seeing a celebration as to which you have never seen before. See yourselves all dressed in the finest of whatever it is that you think is the finest. See yourself strong, healthy, and filled with love. And see yourself hugging and touching and kissing and loving and celebrating in joy with your family and your friends and the ones that mean the most to you. Use your imagination. They're preventing us from touching, but they can't stop our minds. So, all of you, oh, I'm hugging every one of you and loving you. So, imagine, start thinking about hugging everyone you love. So, much love to you all and hugs. And I'll see you soon. Bye.